here. I promise to not take more than 10 minutes. I have been the Chief Development Officer for the Combined Campaign for Justice for the past 7 years, and I know a lot of you, and so I don't want you to be confused that I've left that position. I'm still working for the Combined Campaign. We've, in the last few years, elevated a staff person who was working for Classy into a full-time role. Molly McFeeters, who probably many of you have interacted with, into the full-time role of campaign coordinator. So she's still the full-time campaign coordinator. I am supervising her, working with her, but she's doing a great job. And so if you have any questions about the combined campaign, Molly is your person. For the last 3 years, just before the pandemic and then through, I had the opportunity to work on a number of special projects with the 3 legal aid agencies, including the right to representation effort. I was the coordinator of those weekly calls that we were having with this amazing coalition of the 3 legal aid agencies and other partners, including the ACLU and others in the community who are interested in kind of rethinking the whole process for how to handle evictions cases. So when the opportunity came up to, through the legislation, to have a right to representation coordinator, I threw my hat in the ring. And so that, for me, is actually also just a not just, but it is a part-time role. So I'm doing both in a part-time capacity. The responsibilities of the right to representation coordinator is in the legislation, and the responsibilities include outreach and communications, as well as reporting to the legislature. I just want to add to what Dan was talking about. The fact that we have this legislation is a big deal. We are the 5th state in the country to have right to, the others are calling it right to counsel, but we're calling it right to representation, and 19 cities. So it's a movement, and we are ahead of the curve across the country. So it's something that we should be very proud of. So when the legislation passed, it gave us a little bit of time to kind of get ourselves up and running, and the official start date of the legislation, of the phased-in legislation, was November 22nd. So the first thing we had to do was get the notice out to the landlords through mostly their attorneys and different landlord associations, what they needed to communicate and when to their tenants. That's one of my responsibilities. So we had they have to use the approved flyer that they send to their tenants. Then at the same time, the courts send a notice to every tenant that is receiving an eviction notice, saying what their right is for receiving representation. So we've got a new flyer that goes in, and they get, 18,000 of these go out every year, and our notice is in that envelope. We set up a new website so that tenants and landlords can have the most up-to-date information. Dan mentioned that we're phasing in the implementation, and the zip codes that are guaranteed the right are going to be updated, as well as any updated information for landlords. The courts have put the information on their website. The Attorney General's office has put the information for landlords on their website. Tenants not only receive the eviction notice in their or receive the notice in their eviction notice, but they are also getting the notice of their right from their landlord when they sign their lease, when they renew their lease, and when they receive any kind of notice of an eviction. And that's a requirement for the landlords to provide that. We're also, our messaging to people is that call right away. As soon as you think you have a problem, call right away. It's not, we're not turning people away unless we are, swamped in those from those zip codes. People outside of the zip codes are still getting service from the legal aid agencies. And we're starting to do some community outreach in various settings, and but we're specifically targeting those zip codes, and we're really excited to have a partnership with the ACLU that has hired 2 community organizers to be doing outreach specifically in Seaford and in Sussex County, and they're actually starting this week. So in the first 2.5 months, so since November 22nd, there were 2,100 eviction filings, and legal aid handled 21% of those cases. They weren't all right to representation. Some of their other funding was used for those cases, but 161 were right to representation cases. Also during that time, sadly, there were 372 evictions. So, we're getting there, and obviously there still will be evictions, but the numbers are still very high. So in the last couple of months, we've created a webpage which is provides information for tenants and landlords. We've created an online intake system that DVLS is running, and a central phone number so people can go online and fill out the basic information, and it will direct them to which agency is going to handle their case. We're partnering with various housing service providers who are assisting their clients with eviction issues or housing issues. And as Megan mentioned, we're starting to work on this self-help website that will help pro se litigants. So, in summary, this is amazing progress, and I think we should all be proud of it, and thank you to Senator Townsend for all of your help in getting us to this point. Right to representation shifts some of the burden of funding legal aid for poor people facing eviction from charity to government. So, that's an amazing progress. But it's not putting CCJ out of business. We are still going to be raising money for legal aid because there's still, as Dan had mentioned, overwhelming unmet need in the state in all of the other categories of legal aid that they provide. So if you are interested in taking a pro bono case, I'm not the expert, but DVLS has created a new website, and you could go to their website or use their web link or that QR code. It's on your tables also, and it helps you through the process of deciding what kind of pro bono work you might be interested in doing. They'll train you, they'll support you. They have, ongoing training for doing PFAs. They have like certain days where they do wills for seniors, wills for veterans, and it's, I think, a really meaningful experience. So CCJ is 25 years old this year, and we have a lot of different events planned to celebrate the 25th anniversary of CCJ. Thank you to all of the people in this room that have supported CCJ in various ways, and I want to shout out to Jason Warren for, we have events that support CCJ, and Jason has been involved in our golf tournament every year, and we have a guest bartender event in the fall. And so if you go to our website, you'll find out more information about the golf tournament, about our fall events, our events that we're going to be planning for the 25th anniversary. And also, we've recently created a legacy campaign. We have an endowment fund at the Delaware Community Foundation, and there's information on our website about how to support our legacy campaign. So with that, I think we're like 20 seconds away from 8 o'clock. How's that?